is actually something different, like it might actually be fire or something like that. This year it's metal. That was the same last year too. It was a earth year and it was an earth year. This is a metal year and a metal year. Next year will be different. It'll be a water year and a earth metal. Water year and a metal year. It'll be both metal and water next year. A lot of years they're different, but sometimes they line up. This is one where it lines up, so it's a stronger kind of energy moving through the year when it lines up like that. So what does that mean? So it's a dominating metal year. During the first half of the year, if you're interested in the elements, that there'll be more of a fire energy. During the second half of the year, there's metal energy. That means that some of the negative characteristics that might come up in the year, which we'll talk about, should be more subdued during the first half of the year. But come summer, late summer, it might be a little bit harder sometimes to deal with things. We'll talk about that a little bit, because the two planets ruling this year are Mars and Venus. So anybody do a little Western astrology as well? Yeah, awesome. Oh yeah, hey Bonnie. Great. Yeah, absolutely. So it can be slightly different, but generally the attributes are pretty similar. Mars is related to the fire element, and the virtue of the fire element, which really comes with this planet, is Li, which is usually translated as a ritual politeness, like a courteousness that you do out of, like it's a habit that you create. It's a practice in itself, being polite to other people, and it helps create connection, right? Social connection. It helps enhance that connection. So even when it's difficult sometimes to do, it's a practice, right? To be polite and courteous. So that's the virtue of fire, and that's carried with Mars. Mars also has this energy of kind of getting things done. It can be very getting things done. It can be a little pushy in that way. Sometimes it's talked about it can be fighting if it gets off. But if you stay to the virtue, the central virtue, which is this ritual politeness, then that energy that's coming in of getting things done should stay harmonious. If you forget that virtue, it just gets into like fighting and butting heads and things like that. So you're going to have some practices to do this year. One of them is to try to stay polite as a practice. And then the other planet that is ruling this year is Venus. And Venus is a metal element. The virtue with Venus is more of an honesty and an uprightness. So being honest, being upright. It does govern things like military power. But it's more about using that sort of thing, acting righteous in a morally good way. It's that kind of energy. That's the energy we want to put forward. There's this to be in accord with it. It's about settling conflicting energies coming in and trying to find a peaceable solution or settling those things. To be in accord with that energy, we should really strengthen our right speech. So especially like the Mars, we could say with that ritual politeness, we're strengthening our right view, like a right perspective on things and keeping a solid view of things, not letting things degrade into smaller battles, but keeping a right perspective on things, that we're all connected, we're all in this together, we will all advance together, all that sort of stuff. And then with Venus, it's really keeping that the right perspective of right speech, like what we're actually going to put out there. Even if harmful speech comes our way, we're the ones, someone has to be upright in the situation. We are the ones that are mobilizing that energy. And when you do that, you're being really in accord with the energy of this year. So those will be the two main practices this year for all of us. Doesn't that sound like fun?
Yes.
Yeah. And doesn't that sound kind of needed?
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone gets this practice. It just like disseminates through our whole culture. But remember, especially when things get a little bit tricky in social interactions, that ritual politeness, it's a practice, it's a thing. And then right speech, upright, honest.